Welcome, FinTech Talkers, to another edition of the FinTech Talk Show. This is Patty. On our guests today are three future unicorn CEOs innovating in NFT, eSports, and the Metaverse. Please welcome Ram Subramanian, CEO of Neurallink, an NFT marketplace. Prakash Somasundaram, CEO of Engine Starter, a blockchain gaming launchpad. And Matthew Gunnin, CEO of eSports, which is at the intersection of gamers, esports, and fantasy sports. Our talk today will focus on all things Metaverse, NFT, blockchain gaming, and esports. Curious about what the Metaverse is and why NFTs are bigger than just digital art? How big is the gaming and the esports industry, and why you should pay attention even if you're not a gamer? What does the metaverse mean for brands and enterprises? And how do you build a strategy to establish your presence? Well, my guests have answers to all this and more. Welcome, Ram, Prakash, Matthew, to the FinTech Talk Show.
Great to be here.
Great.
Thank you, buddy. Be here.
Great. Before we get into the metaverse, can we stay in the physical world and talk about you guys? A round of introduction. How did you come to this journey? Let's start with Ram, go to Prakash, and then Matt. Ram.
So my journey with Web3 started about 3 years back. We started a blockchain R&D firm, right? So this is around 2018-19 period when Bitcoin was just growing at about $3,000, $4,000. And my co-founder came ahead and said, "Hey, there's something called Bitcoin." My client went ahead and paid in that. I want to see what it is. And we had a all-nighter and we went through this and we understood what is blockchain. And it literally blew our mind, right? We thought this is going to be the future. And that's how we started. We started as a 7-member company, very small. And then about 3 years, we became about 350 employees. So that was the peak of blockchain and ICOs and all exchanges and stuff. So we built various products. This is right from tokenization, marketplace, cryptocurrency exchanges, and whatever, right? So we built it all. And we built a foundation very strong in blockchain. And that's how we got into this. And in 2020, we realized that NFT is something big. It's an interesting concept that is coming out of blockchain, and it's nothing like before. And we also believe that it's a technology that can be applied across various verticals and demographics, right? So crypto is something which is more of finance, and you can apply it for payments and things across. But NFT is something that can be across various verticals. And we understood that early, and we built products around that. And we always wanted to become a B2C. We didn't want to stay as a R&D company. And in 2021, we went ahead and rebranded as Neurallink, and we launched. Yeah, so that's our background.
Great. From crypto focus, blockchain engineering focus to NFT. And I like the point you're making that NFT is a little bit more broad. So would love to kind of get more deep into that. Prakash.
Sure. So my journey also began in the fintech space, right? So post exit from my digital marketing agency, we started doing a lot more work in the fintech space, which led to us to discover cryptocurrencies, and that kind of began this journey. Specifically with Engine Starter, was a company that we started April last year, so we're exactly about a year old. We saw an opportunity with Engine, especially with their upcoming blockchain called Infinity, and we felt that there was a need for a dedicated launchpad specifically for them. And that's kind of how we began our journey. We started investing into blockchain gaming startups as well as Metaverse startups. And more recently, we started widening our interests into music as well as entertainment. And a lot of them are showing a great amount of potential at get-go. And I guess, we'll be discussing a lot more of that during this podcast.
Awesome, Prakash. Yeah, I hear that the music industry is up for a kind of a disruption because there's a lot of kind of middlemen economics there to be extracted out. and maybe NFTs and music in the blockchain is going to do that. So would love to hear what you're doing there. Thanks. Matthew.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. So yeah, my name is Matt Gunnan. I'm the founder, CEO of eSports One. So I've been in esports and gaming for about 10 years, 11 years now. I've been an entrepreneur all my life and got kind of deep into Web3 and crypto, really kind of at the beginning of the Clubhouse days. I think during COVID, I would say I've been deep into crypto for probably like 4 years, but I didn't get like from a professional entrepreneurial kind of just perspective until it became just kind of a topic of conversation, on Clubhouse shows and Clubhouse rooms, and you join these rooms, people would start talking about these new projects like this dumb Bored Ape NFT that was being launched in a couple of weeks, and to get a whitelist spot, and for some reason I never jumped on those kind of all those early opportunities with all these NFTs that I could have been really early at. And so I've always kind of kicked myself for not kind of seeing where things were heading. I don't think really many people did, but I did see the true kind of underlying opportunity that was on the forefront here with NFTs, and more so just this ability of kind of interoperability of assets within kind of a gaming metaverse. And so what we've kind of taken a traditional daily fantasy platform that we built within the esports kind of industry, grew it to hundreds of thousands of users, really built kind of a niche for the esports space, and specifically for fantasy esports. And we're taking that, we're kind of applying that to kind of this Web 3.0 movement. And we're doing that by looking at what you see with traditional sports stadiums and kind of the physical world. And for us, it's about bringing that to the digital world and creating the equivalent of a concert hall or a football stadium or a baseball stadium, and creating the equivalent of that in the metaverse, and doing so by introducing experiences like fantasy, but also skill-based gaming and wagering and other assets that can be kind of introduced within this new environment that wouldn't really been able to do in 2.0. So yeah, that's really where our expertise and excitement is about. And even with this kind of this bearish market on the horizon, I think there's still a lot of opportunity for those to kind of stand out from the rest and take advantage of this kind of downswing, I would say, in the market and capitalize on it.
Yeah, I know. Talk about bear market, of course. Yeah, that's front of mind for a lot of folks. But as you say, meaning that sometimes bearish markets are kind of the opportunity for some of the good value to take off. No, awesome. And Matt, I think we met first in Clubhouse. So yeah, it was kind of, I think, a COVID phenomenon. It's kind of maybe not super popular nowadays, but would love to get back on Clubhouse. And
yeah, Clubhouse was great. No, it was fun days. I think that was where I met some people I'm still very close with today. And I miss those sort of rooms, those sort of like very personal, you get to meet people. And I don't think that's going to come back anytime soon. I think COVID just kind of put people in that environment. But yeah, it was an exciting time to kind of be, at the ground floor of what's coming within Web3.
True. Maybe Clubhouse will morph into Metaverse, or it'll take a form where folks will meet in the Metaverse, but we'll talk about that. But thank you, Matthew, for that introduction. What I like to do in my podcast for audience is kind of build some foundation, build some kind of ground kind of definitions, if you will, because not everyone knows everything. So maybe if I can ask you guys to kind of talk a little bit, establish some foundation, right? Some say it's like the 90s web, that something big is happening with the metaverse and Web3 and the changing of the web. So maybe Matt, if I go to you this time, so what is the metaverse? I mean, how do we define it for people who just are not connected to it just yet? And how is it different from kind of the current online digital and physical world?
Yeah, well, I think kind of taking, the comparison that a lot of people say is like this Web3 is going through a similar sort of stage as what the internet went through during the dot-com boom. And that's just, I mean, it's a very easy sort of comparison that what happened back in the early 2000s with this new cunning kind of technology layer that was being introduced to the world through blogs, through social media, that everyone was trying to capitalize on, and everyone saw, okay, here's where the future is. Here's where the future is. It's the internet. It's social media, and so we need to build apps and DeFi or finance platforms, and we need to capitalize on this opportunity. And so you just saw this groundswell, just so many different projects and companies and applications and stocks that would, IPOs, and it ended up causing a dot-com boom and just caused kind of a crash in the market. And then after that, you saw a settling of all these corporations where the outliers that were actually doing something that could be seen as long-term were standing out from the rest. And that's where we're at from a Web3 standpoint. So when you hear kind of this metaverse kind of framework, this metaverse idea, you kind of can compare it similarly to like what was the internet of the 90s and 2000s. It's this new way of thinking about where the future is heading, and where we're heading is sort of a society, where we're heading from a technology standpoint, where we're heading from just a financial capabilities, decentralization, perspective. And what the metaverse really is just it's a new way of kind of conceptualize interaction and engagement with other people through a virtual world and through digital experiences. This isn't anything that's different, that's not already being done. Roblox does this already. Minecraft already has this. You have video games that are MMOs, multiplayer games that have hundreds, if not thousands of people that are playing with one another in these kind of digital worlds. And in a sense, that can be considered a quote unquote metaverse. But what this layer that starts to kind of unbundle from this is once you start to kind of incorporate interoperability, where you can kind of games can work between one another, applications can interchange one another. I can earn a currency or a token or an item in one game, and I can utilize that in another game or another platform. And then I can take these digital items that I win or that I earn playing a video game, and I can then redeem it at a concert or at a physical world. And so the quote unquote metaverse is, at its underlying, it's a digital experience. It's a digital experience. But where the long-term kind of viability is how we take that metaverse and we intertwine it with our physical lives that we're kind of living right now, and bring those two together. And that's where we're heading. And that's where you're going to see, in the same way that the dot-com allowed companies like Amazon to kind of come out from the ashes and build what they have today, you're going to see the same sort of companies now that after kind of this little this Web3 crash, whatever you want to call it, you'll start to see those platforms that have figured out a way to take the metaverse angle as well as the physical world angle, bring those together and introduce some sort of value that has longevity, that kind of connects people in multiple ways.
No, that's great. Thanks for kind of building that up, Matthew. And it's kind of, as I see it, the convergence, right? So there's that digital experience and there's that virtual experience, and it's more than just kind of a browser based, like I took the example of Roblox and other games which have kind of their own world, but kind of bringing that into kind of the physical or converging them. That's kind of a step up from our current experiences that we have online. Ram, if I can go to you, how does NFT fit into all this metaverse and Web 3.0?
Absolutely. So NFT is a key concept to a metaverse ecosystem, right? What do you want to own in a metaverse? It's a virtual asset. And how do you prove the ownership to that? And the best way that you can do is to use NFTs, right? Because NFTs lets you prove your ownership on the blockchain, and it's immutable. It's not like I can go ahead and buy a land deed physically and then have that the government say that you own this, right? It's not like in the virtual world. In the virtual world, you would need a virtual mechanism to go ahead and say that this is the property that you own, and this is the authority that's going to go ahead and say that you own this, and the authority comes through the community, not by a centralized body. That's where decentralization happens. So I guess that's the core. That's where NFTs come in. It lets you own assets in the metaverse, and a metaverse, apart from experience, I guess owning virtual assets as much as you own physical assets in real world, which is important for you. Owning virtual assets is very important, and to represent that, you would need NFTs. And NFTs, apart from being that, also let you have certifications, right? So it lets you say that you own this access pass to this particular event. You own this, access to a community that's going to be part of the metaverse. I guess that's very important, and that's where NFTs come again. So they play a very crucial role in the metaverse. This is across various experience that we brought in, and it's starting with avatars and PFPs and access bars and all that. But I think it's going to go beyond that. We've seen that happening with BAYC. They went ahead and had a PFP, and then they went ahead and added merchandise to it, and then they went ahead and started selling land deeds over NFTs, right? So we would see this progress happening, and it is sort of like the end race for everyone to reach out to, right? So NFTs would end up being the biggest use case in the metaverse, and metaverse would be the biggest use case of NFT. So I guess that's how it will happen. So yeah, so I definitely believe it's going to be a bigger role in metaverse, and obviously, as Matthew was saying, the interoperability is very important, between multiple metaverses. Right now, I can't have an NFT in Decentraland and move it to Sandbox or Somnium, right? I guess that's very important. We're still getting there. Once that truly happens, that's the actual metaverse that we want to experience, right? So we are getting there. We would be there soon. And also, Fidgetals is something that I believe would become big, where you would have a digital twin for every physical item that you own, which you could have it in the metaverse. And these are the major key points that we can take from how NFTs would fit into the bigger picture of metaverse.
Got it. Now that's beautiful, Ram. Like in the physical world, we have countries or states or provinces and counties that custody like real estate or other assets, like private entities like banks that can custody, and that happens. The way you explain it's great. So in metaverse, it's NFT is kind of almost the contract or the currency or the representation, the custody, and how it flows around. And there's no central authority. Kind of the network manages most of it. There is that interoperability issue, and we should get into that. But thanks for that beautiful explanation of how NFT kind of plays in the whole metaverse and Web3 a world that we're going into. Prakash, so what I heard from Matthew and Ram is that metaverse primarily is kind of the experience side. Blockchain for a large part is infrastructure. So how are the two related, and why do we need blockchain for the metaverse?
Sure. So I guess blockchain is where the value creation is being locked and the value transfer is taking place. And in the beginning of the whole decentralized world, we used tokens as a means to get people, especially the community, to come in and participate. But because it still looked and smelled like a financial instrument, there was only a very small community that we could reach. But with NFTs now, it is a store of value as well as a transfer of culture. So why would someone pay so much money for a PFP? Is because they relate with that culture. It gives them access. But I think broadly speaking, the biggest thing that we really need to understand now is through these NFTs and through the blockchain, we can now truly own our own data. And that's the mistake that we did in Web 2, right? We gave away our data for free, not realizing that we were the product, right? Just because we were using products for free didn't mean it was free for real, right? And this is where we gave away all our data and we started using these products so much. And we started living a lot more a digital life, right? So where we're going now, this transition into this metaverse is where we're actually going to start spending a lot more time in the digital environment. There are generations that are being born in this environment where it becomes very, very natural for them. And we're going to spend a lot more time in the digital world and lesser in real life. But this is where, if we actually see the bigger picture, it could actually now allow us to actually get back time that we can actually spend with our loved ones. So this is that transition that we're going to go through, and NFTs are that key component. And without the blockchain, it's going to be impossible. But eventually it's got to be a very seamless experience. We talk a lot about interoperability, but for the mass market, the man on the street, he doesn't really care which chain we're building this NFT. He just wants to know that he can actually buy asset and the value of that asset is linked to him. So there's a lot of work to be done. We're still very, very early in this journey, but it's extremely exciting to see the various applications. I think Ram had some very good examples on how the Bored Apes have brought this from a digital environment into the real world. And we're going to start seeing a lot more of that hybrid action and hybrid applications coming about.
Oh, wonderful. I like how you kind of set the decentralization, right? Like a search engine or the search capability in the metaverse without a kind of a central player, or even a social media or equivalent in the metaverse, or kind of a ride sharing company without kind of having kind of the margins for the central mediator, right? It can be decentralized. The blockchain can enable all that. And that will kind of take the value or the margins to the value creator, right? The creator's economy. So it's wonderful. And you're right, we're kind of in the early stages now, and we'll have to see how it evolves. And business models might change too, like Bitcoin, kind of the largest crypto, does not have kind of a company or a CEO or shareholder, so to speak. So we don't know how this will evolve. But on that, and this is for any one of you, how big is this, right? I did some research before the podcast that gaming obviously is a big current industry. The metaverse is just coming up, but a lot of big people, big names have kind of launched their metaverse. Web3 is kind of the creator's economy is up and coming. There's a lot of freelancing already going on, but it's coming. The digital art economy is there. So how big is this all thing put together, or even in the buckets? Anyone?
NFT is around the current market cap is about 17 billion, I believe, right? So, and a metaverse, they're putting it around $62 billion it's expected to grow up to about $1 trillion by 2030. And I believe that it would, right? I think it'll become much more bigger than that. Those are the numbers. But in terms of actually what's happening, right? I'll just talk about what we do with brands, right? One of the reasons we work with brands and the brands want to get into NFTs and metaverse and all that is because they know how to reach out to the millennials and the older generation, but they don't know how to reach out to the Gen Zs, right? Gen Zs are a generation who grew up seeing digital screens. For them, virtual assets mean much more than a physical asset, right? And these brands wouldn't know how to reach out to them, and they don't want to lose out what they did in Web 2, right? They don't want to do what Blockbuster did and Netflix happened, right? So I think that's the transition that we're seeing here, and it will become much more bigger as years pass by. There'll be more and more brands and more enterprises that come to Web3 and Metaverse and NFTs, and because they want to reach out to the younger audience. Those are the ones who are going to buy their products going forward, and that is one of the reasons why Metaverse and all this will grow. And for a very longer time, we've been actually getting into the metaverse, right? The times that we spent into social media, where a picture, a story on Instagram meant much more than actually telling someone in person what we feel like, right? And COVID kind of accelerated that, right? We lived our world through seeing Zoom and talking to people over Zoom, having Zoom universities and stuff like that. So I guess it kind of accelerated the overall process. And we've been getting there for a very long time. Now it's kind of becoming a reality and much more virtual and much more immersive experience. So yeah, so I guess the market is huge for Metaverse.
Yeah, no, trillion dollar. That's big, and I have seen some reports of $1 trillion earlier than 2030. But yeah, we're kind of in a bear market. We'll see how this projects. But Matthew, numbers perspective from the gaming side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to actually kind of quantify a number around what the market is right now, because of so much volatility. I mean, like right now, if you looked at like the value of like every metaverse is driven, or kind of the metaverse as a whole, I mean, it's driven by the value that is attached to any metaverse, I guess you would say, is derived largely by the the economics around the tokens and the commodities and kind of the actual assets that are within that marketplace. And so, unlike if you look at a game like World of Warcraft or Fortnite, where you can basically easily say, okay, this skin is worth $10 because to buy it you need 1,000 Fortnite bucks or whatnot, and 1,000 Fortnite bucks is worth $10. But within the the metaverse, it is largely, I mean, it's largely tied to a token or currency, and so you can have a swing where, and this is like, it's hard to even kind of conceptualize this, because it's something that the Web 2 world, I would say everything kind of pre 2020, it can't really justify, other than just like interest rate hikes and declines, and just kind of like how much money is in circulation. Because right now, if you look at like say there's a metaverse with 100,000 users and it's all pegged to Ethereum, and all those users spend like $100 a piece in Ethereum, or they have 100 Ethereum. If that token drops or increases 50 to 100%, I mean, you're seeing just vast shifts in the market size. And so I think the more important sort of qualifier for what where the opportunity, or where sort of the growth or size of what a kind of this Web3 world will look like, is you look at, okay, how much is spent within the gaming industry, and we're breaking records in gaming every year as more money is being spent on gaming within Fortnite, Roblox, League of Legends, or Call of Duty, you name it. And that, but the issue is that gaming hasn't really justified a move into Web3 yet. Like the gaming world hasn't really adopted this NFT mindset. There's just all these sort of negatives and qualms that they're trying to, that some justified, most aren't necessarily. But if you just look at it in terms of how big the gaming market is, well, the game market is massive, and it's hundreds of billions of dollars worldwide. And then there's hundreds of millions. Well, I mean, total people that play video games is like 2.2 billion. I mean, that includes everyone playing mobile games to desktop to console. But people that play like competitive games is 300, 400, 500 million people around the world. And so, all right, if you bring just 10% over that to this metaverse, I mean, you're looking at tens of billions of dollars being spent. How that is equated to a cryptocurrency, well, there's a lot of kind of unknowns there. But I think obviously the market size here and market opportunity is massive. It's just a matter of how fast and how quickly will adoption happen, and at what rate will that occur.
Interesting. Yeah, no. Yeah, thanks. That's a good point around the kind of the size of the gaming market and just number of people who participate and dollars that flow. And I see a lot of pay to play model too. Well, if you get time, we'll get into that. But Prakash, you're based in Singapore with close ties to Hong Kong, India, now establishing here in the US. So talk a little bit about where do you see the most action? I know this is kind of virtual and on Metaverse is kind of internet based, but which physical geographies do you see the most activity in?
Sure. Well, we're definitely seeing a lot of opportunities and growth in emerging markets. We first saw that in the play to earn space, especially in Southeast Asia. And again, it was timing, right? It was a period where people couldn't go out to work, and play to earn, or these virtual environments allowed these guys to actually spend time and convert that time into digital currencies and eventually into fiat that could put food on the table. And we're definitely seeing a lot more of that opportunity coming about. And I think the emerging market opportunity is massive. It's very similar to the offering that fintech had, right? Where we can now bring a whole new generation of unbanked and to provide them with financial instruments that can actually help them level up from wherever they are. And that excites us, right? I mean, it's an opportunity for us to alleviate poverty in emerging markets, and also to kind of give people an equal opportunity to life, right? So we're definitely seeing a lot of that opportunity. We just did our first investment in a project in Africa, and where they are actually looking at allowing people to actually play games, but putting that whatever output into paying utility bills and paying government services. And again, there's a whole lot of these new business models and new applications are coming out, and I think moving forward it's going to be very, very exciting.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I think you guys talked a little bit about what you are doing when we're talking, kind of painting the bigger picture, but I want to kind of just get a little bit more detail on what individually you're building and your companies are building, and where you're going with it, and who in the ecosystem you are looking to connect. We have a broad audience that includes startups and enterprises and bankers and so on and so forth. So if I could go to Prakash first in this round, talk a little bit about what Engine Starter is doing. Sure. You kind of alluded to helping gamers and building there, and how you fit into the kind of the stack, the ecosystem at large, and who are you looking to connect with as you
Sure.
grow to your next stage?
Sure. So we're primarily ecosystem builders. We look to build bridges with as many people as we can. And the way that we do it is to find ways to actually collaborate with as many people as we can. Primarily what we're an accelerator. We identify projects where we can invest anything from 25K up to 100K. Once we are invested with them, we identify what are the challenges that they have. We help them raise additional capital. We help them build a community. And most importantly, we prepare them for a crowdfunding exercise, which will be hosted on our launchpad, where our community will come in and participate and get tokens in exchange. And beyond that experience, what we do is we actually help them with partnerships. We help them with growth. So that's primarily what we do. In terms of who we're looking for anyone who's interested in a journey into Web3, right? I mean, we're always looking for talent. We're always looking for ambassadors. We're definitely looking for brands to come and join us in this journey. And most importantly, startups, right? So we're seeing both Web2 startups that are actually now coming to us to actually get help to get into Web3. And we're also seeing startups who are actually just leaving, their large corporate lives to actually come and start a Web3 startup. And again, the energy that I'm seeing in this space is very similar to the same energy that we saw during Web 1 and Web 2, except that now, we've had some time to actually understand the digital media a lot better. And we're building on a very strong foundation. And this is where we see Web3 moving a lot quicker and faster. And yeah, we'd just love to connect with anyone who wants to be a part of this journey with us.
Great. And I want to get your Discords, and I know a lot of the crypto activities on Discords, but website. But if someone wants to get in touch with you, and we'll put it on the comments in the podcast. But go ahead, Prakash, if you want to just give out website or Discord channel where people can get in touch with Engine Starter.
So I'll share our link tree, and all our social presence is there. And yeah, feel free to get connected in the best media possible. We're active and present in pretty much all platforms.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So, Ram, if I can go to you next, professional sports franchises are pivoting to NFT for collectibles and enhanced experience. The French unicorn Sorare did that for soccer. You're doing something for cricket, given your background in India and some of the Commonwealth countries that play cricket with Jump.Trade. So tell us more about Jump.Trade.
So yeah, definitely. So there are two important aspects to Guardian, what we do here. And one of them is brands, where we work with brands to launch these NFTs. And I've told you the reasons why brands want to get into NFTs. The other aspect of Guardian is gaming, right? The gaming is more of an independent way of Guardian getting into NFT space, because all of these games are launched by us, either by us on our own or through partnership with gaming studios. And the very first game that we're launching is a cricket game. It's a play to earn cricket NFT game. Why cricket? The answer is India, because cricket is religion over here, and it's a cricket season, and we decided we'll go ahead and launch with that. And it's a very interesting game where the players itself are NFTs. You could buy players as NFTs, and you can form a roster with it, and you can use that roster to choose a team to play with. And as you play matches and as you win tournaments, you level up on your leaderboard and you earn rewards. Apart from this, your NFTs would also increase in value because of your skill set and the parameters that grows up as you play the game. And it breeds into from a level 2 to a level 3 NFT, and you would be able to sell the one that you already had. So it has all the bells and whistles of the existing play to earn game. And we've also done something extra where we've gone ahead and understood what went wrong with some of them. At least we know that we understood now. We'll see what happens later. But we built in rental mechanisms within the platform itself. There is no guild outside. You could go ahead and rent it if you can't afford it. And India is someone who always want to have a lower barrier to entry. So if you can't afford a particular NFT, you could go ahead and rent it for someone who has an NFT, and you could do a revenue share with them. We have a certain tier of NFTs which are always priced at a particular price point, so you can get on easily into the game. We let people grind and play the game with sort of like a shadow NFT, and as they reach on a certain point of reward, we give them an NFT, right? We've built in these kind of mechanisms to bring in people who are casual gamers and gamers who can't have the sort of like the necessary potential to go ahead and buy an NFT, but still want to play, but still want to grind. Those are the guys that we would love to target. That's the community that we like to bring in and let them play the game and enjoy the game and to get rewarded as they play. So that's the overall reasoning and aspect behind launching games. And we have a couple of other games that we're launching as well. We are having a racing game that we're launching, and we have an interesting alien themed game, which is a hardcore simulation game that we're launching. And then there are a couple of other games that we'll be launching soon as well. So interesting times. I'm an avid gamer right from my childhood. So this is the most exciting part of my work, right? So yeah, so interesting stuff.
Great. No, I think Jump.Trade, as I see it, it's kind of the unicorn for in cricket, like similar to Sorare. But good luck with some of the other ones too. Sounds very exciting. Matt, you're doing similar stuff, if I understand it, with your arenas, kind of more on the eSports side, and that's a big market, and even kind of in the US, although this is happening around the world. So talk a little bit about eSports One and how you're kind of operating at the intersection of gamers, the fantasy, and the eSports world.
Yeah, how we've kind of looked at it, it's like we built out, when we started eSports One, we focused largely on building sort of the analytics platform. This is what we started about. I mean, we're a 4.5, 5-year-old company. And so we were able to go out and just acquire a bunch of stats and data around all the major esports titles. And then we built these dashboards and these scouting tools and these broadcaster kind of portals that commentators could use. And then we licensed that to Riot and Blizzard and a bunch of the big game publishers. And and then we took everything we learned there, and applied it to fantasy, daily fantasy. And we created these sort of unique fantasy experiences similar to DraftKings and FanDuel, and did that for esports. And then comes Web3 and crypto. And so what we've how we've taken that model and that user base and applied it to Web3 is by looking at it from more of a experiential standpoint, where we can say, okay, when you go to a football stadium, the experience of watching a football game at the stadium versus at home is very different. But watching an esports event at home versus in a stadium is pretty similar. You're watching essentially the same thing. And so if we're able to instead create our own kind of type of quote unquote metaverse through the lens of these virtual arenas, then users and brands and teams can acquire an arena that will be released at a certain, on a certain time period, with only a certain quantity of them will be made available. And then we are able to then create experiences that the arena owners can introduce to their community. And one of those is fantasy. One of those is skill-based wagering, where you can compete for our token or the arena owner's token in other games. And you can go into Fortnite, and first person that gets 100 kills wins against this other, against the other person. Or we can create, we have this NFT builder that allows brands to build and design their own NFTs, and then they can create contests and experiences for their community to compete against one another. And for us, it's largely about creating this metaverse where if I just own a digital plot of land in Decentraland or Sandbox, I still have to design the entire thing. I still have to go in and create. You have to work within a Unity tool or a 3D tool to create all the experiences, or pay someone to create all those. And for us, it's about, all right, when you own that arena, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to then entertain and monetize and provide value to your community through experiences that we've already created within our metaverse. And it's worked extremely well. We initially launched what we've called a meta pass, which is we made freely available for anyone to claim. We released in different stages. The first one was there's only 1,000. The second there was 5,000 or 3,000, and the third one there was unlimited amount, and it only lasted for about a week. And we had over 250,000 people claim a meta pass, and you could only claim one per wallet. And so we saw, like, most of those wallets, 60% of the wallets that claimed this meta pass, it was their first time ever doing a transaction on that wallet. And it's our way of kind of making the barrier entry as easy as possible for gamers, and then create these experiences within this metaverse that then excites gamers. We're not creating a play to earn game. We're not creating a Web3 game. We're creating this virtual experience that then elevates other games, other communities. And fantasy esports is obviously one of those things. And so similar to the to the cricket kind of platform is we partner with the teams and the brands, and we have player collectibles that people can collect by playing on our platform, and they can purchase through a marketplace, or they can earn, and then they can use those collectibles to play fantasy. But then there's all these other things. We work with brands where they can design a custom energy drink NFT and then have a contest in their arena for their fans to compete for a free year's supply of whatever energy drink, and through an NFT. So we're working with a club right now in Austin to have like the digital equivalent of an arena be the same thing as the physical equivalent of the club. And so if you have access to the digital arena, you also have access to the physical club. So that's kind of how we're combining both the digital world and the physical world and bring it together through the introduction of arenas.
Yeah, no, fascinating. And arenas is if I connect to the physical world, right? So if I kind of take a ballpark or a stadium and a professional sport like NFL or NBA, kind of parking in a ballpark or kind of doing a contract with them, and then obviously there's a lot of economics there. So arenas are something similar in that it's in the metaverse. So are these arenas, or if a gaming team wants to get an arena from Esports One, how do they go about? And is it interoperable across metaverses, or is it?
So brands, we did 1,000, we minted 1,000 arenas, and we've set aside about 200 of those that we are making available to partners and brands. And so we're working with different brands and teams where they can acquire one of the arenas, and then they basically activate it by staking it on the site. Once it's staked, they start earning our token, as well as it starts enabling these teams and brands to begin hosting experiences and hosting events. Like we have a Discord bot that integrates with arenas. We have all these kind of integrations, but the easiest way to kind of think about it is if I go out and I buy a football stadium, I'm going to host football games. Like that's going to be the number one thing. So for us, like if you buy an arena, you're going to be able to host fantasy contests. But if I own a football stadium, football games only happen once a week. So I'm also going to host concerts. I'm going to host conferences. I'm going to host maybe a hockey game in my football stadium. I might host a baseball game. And for us, it's all right, we're building the digital equivalent where we have an arena that can host fantasy contests. Your community can compete regularly for collectibles, for your favorite team, for a brand. But then that owner of that arena will also be able to host and run other types of experiences that might integrate with other third-party apps, or it might be just various sort of experiences that we've created. And by doing that, and then we also make it where if you are a fan of a team, so we partner with a big esports team, or one of the esports teams we're partnering with, they can then restrict access to their arena, to their digital arena, based on qualifiers that they enable. Maybe it's an NFT that they've already created, or maybe they want to release their own NFT or NFT collection, and then by owning that NFT, it gives you access to that arena. And right now it's not, we still think of like the metaverse from an arena standpoint and more of like a 2D world where we haven't launched like the actual physical or the digital equivalent of where you can like walk into the arena. But that will be kind of how it evolves, is where we have a digital esports kind of map and world, and various teams, brands own their arenas, and you'll be able to go into the world and walk into various sort of these various sort of buildings based on if you have the access to that arena and compete in the different experiences that they have available.
Interesting. Oh, thank you. So Ron and Prakash, I know we talked about it, and if I remember, for brands and enterprise, right? Why should they pay attention to metaverse and all the Web3 and other things going on? Obviously, the engagement with the Gen Z or the younger generation to bring them into creating new experiences for all their customers, because this is a lot of it is experience. I recently saw, I think last week, Starbucks has launched a digital third place, and Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, I think he's on record saying that Starbucks not a seller of coffee, they're a seller of experience. So I feel that he's caught on to that this whole metaverse and everything is all about experience. So Starbucks wants in on it. So they've, I think, created an NFT loyalty program, which I think detail is just coming, but it's about shared experiences, not just in coffee shops, but in the virtual world or with other partners. So that's potentially an important thing for brands and enterprises think. But if you were kind of advising the CEO of a large enterprise, a Fortune 500 company, what would be your spiel to say that pay attention to this? Paying attention tomorrow is too late. You should have a metaverse and a Web3 strategy today or yesterday. Ram or Prakash?
Yeah, personally, I'm seeing a lot more interest from the large corporates over the same period during Web 2. I think at Web 2, a lot of them just sat back and allowed a lot of startups to get into the space. Whereas this time, we're actually seeing a lot of large corporates coming to us to request for some kind of a strategy. You're right to say The experience aspect is the key. If anyone is looking at selling anything at this stage, they've got the whole concept completely wrong. But I think at the end of the day, it's about finding your tribe, right? Making sure that your fan becomes an engaged fan, and that engaged fan becomes a super fan. And that's kind of what Web3 is going to offer. These experiences will allow clubs to be formed, and these clubs will allow access to be formed. And the NFTs are actually providing that key into this universe, right? So that's kind of where we're guiding brands, where it's all about the fan engagement that we're looking for. And that's why we're also so excited about the music and entertainment space, because a lot of musicians that we've been speaking to want to create these NFTs, not necessarily just to make money, but also to have a direct relationship now with their fans. They would be able to co-create music with their fans, and now this kind of brings it to a whole new experience. And while we always say that Web3 is for the creators, the musicians are the true creators. For the longest time, except that we can take out a whole lot of middlemen and allow that direct interaction. So I guess we're evolving now to an always-on immersive environment, and brands now need to prepare for that level of engagement.
Ram?
Yeah. So we work with about 40 plus brands right now, which will be launching their NFTs in the next 12 months. It's funny you say that, what would you say for a Fortune 500 CEO? Because that's what I'm doing every day. So I talk to these guys and tell this is, you need to get into the metaverse, you need to get into NFTs and stuff. And I would relate to what I told before. You don't want to be a blockbuster, and let another Netflix come in and take over the market, right? And I guess the brands realize that now. Information passes much more faster than before. We have the internet every day. We are seeing news on what's happening in Web3, what's happening in NFT space. And the brands read that and they understand that they need to be there, right? And they want to give out better experience to their audience as much as possible. And they know that they always have to keep on tapping into the next generation. They want to have that brand recognition built onto the next generation, because that's how they will survive, right? And to have access to this generation that is growing up, which is going to be your buying crowd in the next 20, 30 years, you need to be on the Web3, you need to be on the metaverse, you need to have NFTs, you need to have build that experience, that virtual experience. And I guess that's the reason brands want to get in here, and that is the reason we also tell it to these brands, right? And as Prakash was saying, it's more of an experience right now, and to come out with that experience, you need to understand what's the brand's ethos. And any brand that we talk to about, if it's a media brand, we try to understand what's the brand about, right? What's their ethos, what has been their vision, and how to have that vision passed on in the the virtual world, and how do their NFTs talk about that. So we've always done that with any brand that we're working with. And one more important thing that we do is that we don't want them to just see this as an opportunity of promotion. Then they should see it as part of their business, as a long term, bring in a use case to it, have it, have a proper utility to your NFT, right? Don't let just people hold on for some time just because I bought, a McLaren NFT and I'm proud about it. Bring a use case to it, have a purpose to it, let people use it for a very longer time. That's what will build that community, right? That's what will bring that strong people following to your brand. And that's been our major vision to all these brands, and it has worked out well, because all of the drops that we've done, we've sold out 100%, and they trade out really well. And any brand that we've that we work on in the future as well, this is what we pass on to them. So yeah, so it's very interesting to work with these brands, and a lot of new stuff would come out as well. There's a lot of new experience and new way of dealing with NFTs would come out as well. So looking forward for that.
No, that's great. And it is important, as you rightly point out. I want to pivot into, and maybe just kind of a 2 or 3 minute round on some of the exciting projects you guys see in the horizon. I heard interoperability from, I think, all three of you. I think Prakash talked about music, and obviously fantasy sports, and that's kind of picking up, but kind of at the industry level, not just what kind of you're doing, but what do you see as some of the exciting projects out there in this space?
Yeah, I can kind of start. I mean, the most interesting things to kind of follow is projects that are building cross-chain kind of integration. So there's a couple of marketplaces I know that are starting to pop up that are, as well as the ones that are already kind of established, but are really kind of focusing on cross-chain support, where you're going to a marketplace and doesn't matter where your NFT is minted or built on. You can purchase it regardless with whatever token that you have. So if it's on Solana, you can buy it with Matic. If it's on Ethereum, you can buy it with Luna. I think those are really interesting. And then I would say the other piece that is more from a technology standpoint, anything that's related to the creation and establishment of DAOs. So there's kind of the equivalent of Notion and Coda that's being built as fully Web3 enabled, because you have to look at it as like, how do you solve or make it available if I want to create like a shared workplace for my community where we can contribute to documents and articles and information, and I want to token gate that. I want to restrict that based on what NFT you own or what currency or token you own, or if you own one of our NFTs. So I think that's going to be super valuable. And then anything related to smart contracts as well. I don't think we haven't even been touched the tipping point of what's possible with the development of smart contracts and what can be done to help with both gas fees, but also just the ability to, the mutability, upgradability, just composability, just all these different, components that can be done with smart contracts. So those are three areas I'm most excited for.
Oh, wonderful. And I think each of them need their own kind of podcast. But Ram and Prakash, what are you seeing that excites?
Personally, I'm really excited about these virtual, a lot of these blue chip NFTs are now creating in real life clubhouses. And it's really exciting to see how quickly they can attract and build a tribe, and the tribe that is very motivated and kind of works together. And I feel like what Matt said, this leads on to the next exciting phase, which is the DAO, where the community actually comes together to vote for what's best, for the community. And this is now going to create venture creation and value creation in a whole new level. It takes greed away, hopefully, and it allows a lot bigger things to be done. Eventually, you could see townships being managed by DAOs, and I think this is where true value gets created, because we're moving the value creation from the virtual world into the real world, and through this, a whole lot of new magic is going to come across.
Awesome.
I concur to that in terms of DAO. I believe that's the future, right? That's the core of decentralization. Internet was supposed to be that, but it was not. It went to the corporations. But Web3 would change that, right? It would definitely bring in concept of decentralization and make sure that is implemented. The community would take it back. They would start owning it. I guess that's definitely going to happen. And in terms of projects, right, for example, VAYC itself, even though there's a lot of speculation around it, but what they're doing is something great, right? They're making sure the community gets benefited of every act they do, right? And I guess that's a starting point. And there are a lot of other NFT projects which are very interesting, where there are a lot of utility-driven concepts that is going around, like BeFriends and all that, which has a NFT-only restaurant. And then there are few of the concepts where NFTs are your gate pass to anything that you want to access there. I guess we are in a very initial stages. We're just getting onto the surface right now. A lot of stuff that can be done in terms of technology. I believe interoperability is very important. I'm one who believes that Ethereum will be the mother of all, right? I don't think there'll be other chains that's going to rule, but what you can build on top of it, how it can be interoperable across various EVMs, I guess that'll be a game changer. And how would each product would talk to each other, how would each metaverses would talk to each other. I think that's very important, and that's what will enable true decentralization, which I'm sure it will happen. And we are really getting there. It's very early stages and the exciting times.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs like yourselves to kind of innovate in these areas. Obviously, the interoperability, the cross-chain, the DAOs obviously have a kind of regulatory or jurisdictional aspect to it. So I know in the US, Wyoming, the state of Wyoming allows it kind of in some way, but other states don't still recognize it. I know other jurisdictions like Singapore and Switzerland are a little bit ahead. So it'd be interesting to see how that space evolves, because there's a little bit of other parties need to come together. And that kind of the physical digital convergence, that's very interesting. And what Starbucks is doing, like you said, Ram, it's similar to what I think Starbucks wants to do. These are all great. We can go on. We're out of time. So I want to go into closing and maybe ask you guys, and you guys kind of prognosticated and crystal balled already, but talk to anything you want to do on your closing. I'd like to ask my guests to kind of talk about who they want to connect with and give out kind of social media that you are in. I know Prakash, I asked you that already. You were going to give the link, and we'll include that in the podcast so that people can connect with you. But on to closing, whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I can jump in. Yeah, so we're building kind of we've taken a 3-pronged approach to what we're building, and it includes both, we see it as establishing our own tokenomics, our own NFT kind of collection and collectibles and builder, and then a DAO, like we mentioned. So we've launched, like, we've created a bounty program for community members to get rewarded with our token. And you can find that in our Discord. Just go to discord.gg/E1. And then we're all over, social at eSports 1. And that's just really people that are looking to get involved. We have a lot of bounties open for developers, especially, that if they just are looking for side gigs to make some extra cash, we have that available, as well as kind of long-term opportunities for people that want to come in early and get in the ground floor with our token as well. So look forward, just reach out to me on Discord.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, so about Guardian Link, as been saying, right? So we started as an R&D firm, and then we got into NFTs because we wanted to establish a B2C brand. And as any B2C brand out there, community is the most important thing, and we will have our consumers enjoy a platform. That's what we want, right? We're building as much as utilities as possible, as much as engagement as possible, so that they can consume what we provide to them and also enjoy and earn some money as they do. Because next generation that's going to come forward, it's all about gig economy, right? I don't think someone is going to sit in a job for a very long time. They're going to have multiple gigs, and gaming and game-based NFTs and gamified NFTs is going to be a great gig economy for them. And that's what we're trying to do here in Guardian Link. So go ahead and take a look at what we do. We are doing a lot of interesting projects, and you can reach us out at guardianlink.io. It has all our socials there, and we are excited to be part of this. So come join the journey.
Awesome. Thanks, Ram. Prakash, last but not least.
Awesome. So like I mentioned earlier, we are ecosystem builders. So if you're interested in the space, come and join our tribe. Come and find a way to contribute. The true way that you can learn about Web3 is to actually participate in it. We can offer that as a safe environment. We can ensure that we will provide as much collaborative opportunities as we can. And we're constantly looking for partners who have access to strong IP or they have communities that we can work with to do cross promotion, to cross growth. And yeah, we'd love to see if we can, meet like-minded people who want to join us for this journey. And yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ram, coming in late in the night from Chennai while we're recording in May 2022. Prakash, even later in Singapore. And Matt, taking time out of your precious morning lunchtime from Austin, Texas. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and coming on the FinTech Talk Show. I really enjoyed the discussion. This is Patty signing off. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.